Hello, everyone, and welcome to ASUG Best Practices SAP for Supply Chain. I'm Katie Walker. I'm a producer here at ASUG, and I'll also be moderating today's session. If you guys have any questions for our speaker, you can enter them into the Q&A portal, which is going to be the question mark bubble inside of the chat box on the lower right-hand side of your screen. We also welcome and encourage you guys to engage with other attendees in the room, and you can do that via the room chat feature, which is also in that same box, and it's the first bubble. Now I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for the day. We have Justin Goldston joining us from Penn State University. Go ahead, Justin, take it away.
Hi, Katie, and thank you everyone for attending this talk. Today, I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about how we can leverage AI to lead to a competitive advantage in the area of sustainability. Now, in terms of a little bit more about myself, as Katie mentioned, I am a professor of project and supply chain management at Penn State University. I am also a visiting lecturer at Georgetown University, where I have spent the last 2 years working with my peers in developing the Masters in Supply Chain program there. I'm also a 5-time TEDx speaker in the area of blockchain, where I discussed blockchain in 2019, and I mentioned a few things back then that we were actually seeing now, so I'm very, very, very excited about that. And also, in 2021, I was identified as a 2021 Supply Chain Pro to Know by the Supply and Demand Chain Executive, as well as the Rockstar of Supply Chain by Food Logistics. From an association perspective, I am a part of the academic research committee for the Association of Supply Chain Management, and I'm also an executive board member at the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. So on today's agenda, we're first going to discuss a systems approach, a systems thinking approach, and how systems thinking can lead to a more sustainable world. And I talk to my students, I talk to my colleagues, I talk to people within the industry about systems thinking, and that everything is a system. And that is one thing we're going to speak about shortly. We're also going to talk about how sustainability within an organization can lead to a competitive advantage. Now, I am very optimistic that if we move forward with this sustainable practices, with this sustainability movement, which I refer it to, we have a very bright future ahead of us. If we continue business as usual, I think that outlook is rather bleak, and I think that we have seen that, you know, with the pandemic of 2020 going into 2021. Next, we're going to talk about how we're going to move into the quadruple bottom line, the 4BL, the 4 Ps. I know that some of us within business school have talked about people, planet, and profit, you know, the 3 Ps, but there are a lot of discussions now where we're going to introduce a 4th P, and we're going to talk about that as well. We're also going to talk about how the democratization of emerging technologies, specifically AI. I'm not even going to say that buzzword. Specifically, AI can lead to increased profitability for an organization. And then finally, we're going to get down to the basics, if you will, where we're going to discuss how we can assess an organization's digital transformation maturity as we get into this Web3 movement, which I will also touch on shortly. So just beginning with this whole concept of systems thinking. I always say that everything's a system. So there's a systems theory, there's a systems thinking approach, but if you look at everything from a systems perspective, if we look at SAP, all modules within SAP make up that system. If you look at sustainability, we're going to talk about the 17 UN SDGs. Every one of those SDGs make up a system. If you look at the triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit make up the overall system. So I mentioned systems thinking initially because that's how I want you to frame this conversation. I want you to frame it like everything we discuss is a system. All we do moving forward is systems thinking. Okay. So beginning with this systems thinking mindset, beginning with this systems thinking approach, we're first going to talk about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm pretty sure that you have heard of sustainability, you have heard of the UN SDGs, but one exercise I always ask people to perform, I'm going to ask you to do it now, is I want you to think of what is your definition of sustainability. And two, in looking at this caption, what are your top two SDGs? Now, I do this with my students, I do this with leaders of organizations, and then I have those leaders perform the same exercise within their organization. So whenever I do this, I actually find that a number of people have different definitions of sustainability. I also find that a number of people, a number of organizations have different top two SDGs. But in both cases, that's very important. Because if we have different definitions, now we are striving toward different objectives around the world, within our organization, within our supply chain network. If we have two different SDGs, the different top two SDGs, we are putting greater emphasis in those areas. So in my case, my top two SDGs are going to be 17, the Partnership for the Goals, and 9, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure. Using the systems thinking approach, I need SDG 17, I need my partnerships to achieve climate action. I need SDG 17, I need partnerships to achieve SDG 16 and peace and justice. So I ask that you do that because all of these SDGs are interconnected and all of these can be referred to as a system. Okay. So if you look at it from that perspective, there has been discussions on the only way in order to reach these UN SDGs by 2030 is through a technological revolution. And as we have seen emerging technology, we've seen cloud computing, we've seen blockchain, we've seen AI. It's my opinion that AI is that answer. And I'm actually writing a book called AI for Good, where I'm actually outlining all 17 UN SDGs. And I'm creating AI use cases to address every single one of those SDGs. Now, in order to, because AI requires a large amounts of data, we need organizations. We need organizations to share their data so that we can address these SDGs. So now you are sharing your data. You're making a positive social change. And now because we're able to use these AI algorithms and learn from these AI algorithms, now you're able to make more informed decisions from a strategic perspective. That's the first step to a competitive advantage, using AI while also addressing sustainability. Okay. So next, again, we within business schools, we traditionally speak about the triple bottom line, but we're now introducing the quadruple bottom line. Traditionally, the three P's were people, planet, and profit, but now we're introducing purpose. So whenever we talk about this fourth P, I always begin the conversation with leaders of why'd you start this business? Give me the story. Whenever they give me the story, the purpose comes out. So within your organization, try to get that story because that's your organization's purpose. And can you change a purpose of an organization? Probably not. It's very difficult. But can you change the culture of the organization? Yes, you can change the culture of the organization. There are disciplines, organizational change management. There's organizational change consultants out there. There are the doctoral programs in organizational change. So you can change a culture of the organization. And if you change the culture of an organization to a sustainable culture, that can lead to increased profitability. Now, one of my favorite TEDx talks is by Dr. Alex Edmans from the London Business School. So he did a longitudinal study of do the top 100 companies to work for have a positive impact on the bottom line, or is sustainability and social responsibility a detriment? What he found is that those organizations that practice sustainability, that provide opportunities for their employees, that give unlimited time off, for example, they beat their competitors year over year. So I would say I would encourage you to actually look at go on YouTube, type in Alex Edmans TEDx, and you'll see it. Okay, so his whole premise was that the purpose of the organization is the foundation of this quadruple bottom line, and the people, planet, and profit falls into that purpose, and then at the heart is sustainability. So if you look at the quadruple bottom line from a systems thinking approach, we need the planet in order for the people to survive. We need the planet in order to produce the raw materials to produce a profit. In order to continue with that, we need to continue to act sustainably. Systems thinking. So if you have any questions, please let me know. So moving on, and if you recall, I did slip up one time. So whenever I say debunking AI, and you say, well, how do you go from the quadruple bottom line to AI? It's because of systems thinking. So if we start talking about AI, I refer to AI as augmented intelligence. It is going to assist employees in making their jobs easier. And one thing, I love this caption because you have AI at the top, but then you have artificial intelligence under that umbrella. So that's why I refer to it as augmented intelligence. And you can see under augmented intelligence, you have artificial intelligence, you have the deep learning, you have the machine learning, you have the robotics. So all of these tools, all of these emerging technologies come together to make up augmented intelligence, systems thinking. And if we leverage all these tools are collecting data, and all these tools are being fed into this AI algorithm. So we can not only make better informed decisions, but now we can be informed of how are we operating toward this sustainable goal. If we need data, if individuals need data, if scientists need data to collect, we have this data using augmented intelligence, and we can share that data, and we can make a positive impact toward this sustainable world. We can make a positive impact toward achieving these 2030 UN SDGs. So that's where AI, augmented intelligence, falls into how we can lead to a more sustainable world. So another thing I want to talk about is, I know and I have this discussion often in that, a number of organizations say, well, how can we get to AI if we're still on Excel spreadsheets? How do we get to AI if we're still on QuickBooks? Well, you have to assess your digital transformation maturity, your augmented intelligence digital transformation maturity. And I'm trying to get through all of this in a short amount of time. But whenever we're talking about an organization's maturity, we also refer to as people, process, and technology. Yes, there's people, process, and technology, but I always separate data outside of that technology bucket. And that's very important because you can have the technological infrastructure in place. I can have my SAP infrastructure in place. But if my data is not accurate, if my data is not clean, the project is a big risk of failure. So that's why I separate the data outside of the technology discussion. So whenever we discuss an augmented intelligence maturity, we always start with that master data management. How clean is my data? What's the work effort in cleaning my data? Okay. You also have to refer to as robotic process automation. There's business process automation. So business process automation I refer to as workflows. So within workflows, that automation of workflows, that would be referred to as business process automation. With robotic process automation, that is chatbots. Okay. And the automation we have in manufacturing plants, that's robotic process automation. Then we have the analytics. I always say that there a number of solutions are now offering, chatbots within ERP applications. I refer to it as Siri in my ERP. So that's where we get that next level of intelligence. And then you're going to start moving into this augmented intelligence. And again, I have yet to mention that this is going to take over jobs. No, it's going to make the jobs of the employees easier. Okay. And as you can see, all of these technologies are going to be interconnected from a technology perspective, but they are directly impacting the people of the organization. In collecting this data, it's going to directly impact the planet, because now we are seeing how sustainably we are actually acting based on this data, systems thinking. Okay, so the key takeaways to this presentation. I know I try to stay within the time limit. So the key takeaways from this presentation is that you need to understand your organization's top sustainable development goals. You need to understand what are going to be their priorities, because they are going to focus on those top 2 SDGs. Okay. Also, you need to understand what your definition of sustainability actually is. Once you understand your definition of sustainability, now you're able to share that with your coworkers within your organization. You're able to share that with the leaders of your organization, and you're able to share that with your business partners outside of your 4 walls. And you're going to be able to begin the conversation to see how your definition is aligned and how it's different. And if it's different, that's a good thing. If your top 2 SDGs within your organizations are different, that's a good thing. To be honest, if your definitions are different, that's what I look for. Because that way we can see, okay, why are these definitions different? Why do you have a different understanding of sustainability? Based on from my experience in working with leaders of organizations and working with leaders within the sustainability space, and in interviewing a number of individuals for a project in the UK, it's dependent upon the geographical region that individual comes from. It also depends upon the industry in which that individual works in. So whenever I asked the definition of sustainability from individuals in the U.S., it is the textbook it is the textbook definition of sustainability, versus when I ask someone from Sierra Leone, from the Congo, from Australia, totally different definition. Neither one of them are right or wrong. It depends on that person's experience. And that's why I think that we need to have these conversations to understand, to take off. And I always say that I'm the first person to admit that I had U.S. blinders on for a number of years. And it was not until I began speaking at these conferences around the world where I seen that we all have different perspectives, and I had these U.S. blinders on. And we have to have these conversations of people from different parts of the world to understand their perspectives, their experiences. Are our experiences aligned? If they're not aligned, how can we get on the same page? Do we have to get on the same page? So that is where we need to say, what's your definition of sustainability, and begin the conversation outside of your organization, within your organization, and outside the United States. I asked, outside the United States, get on LinkedIn and start collaborating with people outside of the US to get their perspectives on sustainability, on the UN SDGs. Okay. Also, develop an understanding of augmented intelligence, in that understand how AI can lead to a sustainable advantage, how AI can assist employees of your organization to make their jobs easier, to take them away from those repetitive tasks so they can focus on innovative tasks. Okay. Value added activities. Also, assess your organization's AI maturity. And as we said before, create buy-in within your organization as well as outside of your organization. So thank you for your time and listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact me at jlg566@psu.edu. You could also reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can also see more presentations, international presentations on supply chain management, sustainability, diversity, and inclusion at justingolston.com. And please go to SydTech, SYDTEK.ai. That is where we're doing a lot of research on this Web3 movement that is going to be very important. It's going to impact every single one of us as we progress. So there's going to be an amazing announcement coming out in June. So please sign up for that newsletter. So now we're going to go to questions. Let's see here. We have some time. Questions, feel free to send them. Yep. So U.S. blinders, yes, absolutely. So, all right. So one question is, where do you see the industry going overall in sustainability, and is it simply a buzzword? At this given point in time, these are my thoughts. These are not the thoughts of Penn State University. These are the thoughts of Justin Golston. At this point, I think that I do think that sustainability is a buzzword, because I see, and the reason why I say that, my justification in saying that, is because there is a lot of discussion, a lot of talk, and very little action. A lot of people are doing presentations on sustainability, but we have not seen that much progress in terms of making positive strides in making accomplishments to achieving those UN SDGs. We have not seen investment in organizations in making a contribution to achieving the UN SDGs. So I think that, and I always stress the fact that I think that we've seen the beginning of us not acting sustainably with the pandemic. I think that, again, these are my views. I think the pandemic was the results of deforestation. And if we continue to operate as we do, this is not the last pandemic we're going to see. The polar ice caps are melting, and there are diseases that have been locked in those ice caps for tens of thousands of years, and we have no idea. We can't hypothesize what can happen with with climate change. So I think that we must continue to take a closer look in terms of sustainability from an organizational perspective, and it needs to stop being lip service, and we need to start having action toward it. How can employees make a positive impact on sustainability within the organization? I feel that it starts from the bottom. It's a bottom up approach. You know, we have to begin these conversations. We have to begin these conversations with leaders of organizations. And I think you're seeing that with millennials and Gen Zs. I say that in a lot of conferences, in that they're demanding transparency from a supply chain perspective. They want to see the source of their products. And they want to ensure that those organizations in which they're buying products from are acting ethically, and that the creators of those products, the manufacturers of those products, those employees that make those products, are being paid a fair wage. So we're going to start seeing more of that. Now, again, that starts with the Gen Zs, and millennials as consumers. But if you as employees have the same ask, have the same request, I think that we're going to see some similar progress from organizations. So just share, what you feel should be done within the organization, and I do feel that the leaders of those companies will begin to listen. Attendee comment, I think ESG will push organizations to move forward on this. Yeah, so with ESG, so there's ESG reporting, there's also ESG investing that we're seeing a lot of talks about. But there's one thing that I had a conversation with an individual with about a few months ago, where he is a VC firm. So in terms of ESG, that's a part of their risk register. So whenever they're evaluating organizations, they're looking at organizations' sustainable practices. If they don't have sustainable practices, that's a large risk. That's a reputational risk. That's an environmental risk. So you're going to see more and more of that. You're going to see more and more of that as we progress. So I said that, I haven't seen much action. That's where I've seen action, and I love it. Every time when we're investors are adding that to their risk registers, that's whenever I think we're going to start seeing progress. All right. So those were all of the questions. Once again, thank you for listening to this discussion. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and please sign up for sidtech.ai, as well as go to justingolston.com for some more presentations. Thank you.